I'm Sarah Thompson, 62 years old. I was sitting in the living room of my home in a quiet Boston suburb, gazing at the fireplace. Outside the window, the autumn wind rustled the trees, and leaves danced in the air. This season always brings back memories of the past. I was adopted when I was 5 years old. The memories of the abuse I suffered from my birth parents during those first 5 years are still vivid. Days of hunger and violence. And then, suddenly, salvation came. Sarah, this is your new home now. The gentle voices of my adoptive parents still linger in my ears. They taught me what love is. A safe and warm home. Daily meals. And above all, unconditional love. That experience led me to the legal profession. After graduating from Boston University Law School, I began working as a lawyer specializing in child protection. Now, I'm a well-known figure in this field and have saved many children. However, my life's greatest challenge was my daughter, Jessica. I adopted Jessica when she was 10 years old. I was 34 at the time. She, too, was a victim of abuse. Jessica, it's okay now. This is your new home. I passed on to Jessica the same words I had heard. The first few years were a series of difficulties. Jessica wouldn't trust anyone and often lashed out. But I never gave up. Jessica, you are loved. I am your mother. Gradually, Jessica began to open her heart. She graduated high school, went to college, and got married at 28. I was proud of her growth. However, after her marriage, I began to notice subtle changes in Jessica. The number of phone calls decreased, and we met less frequently. And after her daughter Emily was born, we became even more estranged. Now, as I sat in front of the fireplace reflecting on the past, I let out a deep sigh. It had been 3 months since I last saw Jessica and Emily. The last time I saw them, I was concerned about Emily's condition. She was thin and her eyes looked dark. Tomorrow, I'll go to Jessica's house, I decided. The memory of the abuse I had experienced myself, and the experience of saving Jessica, pushed me forward. Would tomorrow be the day I learned the truth? I quietly closed my eyes and began preparing for tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up early and prepared breakfast, remembering Jessica's wedding day. It's been 10 years since then. Time really does fly. When Jessica was 28, she married Mike Johnson, who worked at the same company. Mike was 30 and seemed like an honest young man. The wedding was small but warm, and I remember my heart swelling when I saw my daughter's happy smile. Mom, I'm happy. When Jessica hugged me, I struggled to hold back my tears. My adopted daughter had grown up so wonderfully and was starting a new life. It was the greatest joy for me. After the wedding, Jessica and Mike set up their new home in the suburbs. I visited them occasionally, watching over the two enjoying their newlywed life. And 2 years after their marriage, Emily was born. I still vividly remember the emotion of holding my granddaughter for the first time. The weight and warmth of that tiny life. When I heard Emily's first cry, I felt like my life was complete. Emily, Grandma will protect you. I gently kissed the baby's cheek. However, at that time, I had no idea that keeping that promise would be more difficult than I had imagined. Around the time Emily turned 3, Jessica's behavior began to change. Our phone conversations became shorter, and when I visited, she seemed somewhat unsettled. Mike also didn't seem as cheerful as before, and I sensed that there might be some problems between them. "Jessica, is something bothering you?" Even when I asked, Jessica would just brush it off with, "It's nothing." But a mother's intuition is sharp. I also began to worry about Emily. She wasn't as energetic as before and stopped smiling when she saw me. When I found a bruise on Emily's arm on her 5th birthday, alarm bells rang in my heart. "Emily, what happened here?" I fell down. Emily's answer was exactly the same as my own words when I was being abused. Since that day, I began visiting Jessica's house more frequently. However, Jessica didn't seem to welcome my visits. I even felt like I was being treated as a nuisance. "Mom, don't worry so much. We're fine." I couldn't help but feel anxious about Jessica's words. Emily's condition seemed to be getting worse day by day. She was losing weight, had dark circles under her eyes, and stopped smiling altogether. I tried to intervene several times. I suggested counseling and offered to help with housework and childcare. But Jessica rejected everything. "Mom, we'll solve our family issues ourselves." Those words made me feel helpless. But as someone who had saved an abused child before, I couldn't give up. And now, having finished breakfast in front of the fireplace, I was determined to visit Jessica's house again. Today, I must uncover the truth and save Emily. I took a deep breath, stood up, and headed for the door. As I stepped out of the front door, the cold autumn wind caressed my cheeks. I took a deep breath and got into the car. On the way to Jessica's house, anxiety weighed heavily on my chest. First, I decided to call Emily's elementary school. I pulled over to the side of the road and took out my smartphone. "Hello, Maplewood Elementary School." "Hello, this is Emily Johnson's grandmother. I'd like to check on her condition." "One moment, please. Emily has been absent since last Thursday. We haven't received any communication from her family." Fear ran through my chest. Today is Tuesday. She's been absent for 5 days, and Jessica hasn't contacted the school. This isn't normal. I hurriedly drove to Jessica's house, arriving 15 minutes later. The nameplate read Johnson. That name, which once evoked images of a warm home, now seemed ominous. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I rang again, but still no response. "Jessica. Emily." I called out while reaching for the doorknob. To my surprise, it wasn't locked. As I stepped inside, a foul odor hit my nose. It took a while for my eyes to adjust to the dark interior. The living room was a mess, with old pizza boxes and empty cans scattered on the floor. I heard a faint noise. As I moved towards the sound, I reached the kitchen. What I saw there took my breath away. Emily was sitting on the floor, scooping dog food into her mouth with her hands. A large bag had tipped over, spilling brown pellets across the floor. Emily was mechanically putting them into her mouth one by one. "Emily!" I cried out and rushed over. Emily flinched in surprise and looked up at me with frightened eyes. Dog food powder was stuck around her mouth, and her clothes were dirty. "Gee, Grandma." Her voice was thin and trembling. As I approached, I could see numerous bruises on Emily's arms and neck. Her emaciated body was even thinner than when I last saw her. "Emily, why are you eating this?" I was hungry. There was no food in the fridge. Emily's words made my heart ache. When I opened the refrigerator, it was empty. Looking around the kitchen, I couldn't find anything that resembled human food. "It's okay now, Grandma's here." I gently hugged my granddaughter. Emily's body was cold and shaking. "It hurts." "Grandma." Those words tore my heart apart. At the same time, anger welled up inside me. Anger towards Jessica and Mike, and anger towards myself. Why hadn't I noticed sooner? "Emily, where are Mom and Dad?" "They went on a trip. They're not coming back." I was shocked. Her parents had gone on a trip, leaving their 8-year-old child behind. This is clearly abuse. I knew I had to act immediately. First, move Emily to a safe place. Then, get her the necessary treatment. "Emily, let's go to Grandma's house. We'll have a warm meal there and take a bath, okay?" As I picked Emily up, her lightness pained my chest. I quickly got into the car and headed home. In the car, Emily remained silent, clinging to my arm. When we got home, I first gave Emily a shower and changed her into clean clothes. I prepared warm soup and slowly fed Emily while thinking about my next steps. Should I report this to the police? Should I contact Child Protective Services? And how should I deal with Jessica and Mike? My heart was filled with anger, sadness, and determination. I vowed to do everything in my power to protect Emily. As I gently stroked Emily's hair, I renewed my resolve. A week after taking Emily into my care, Jessica and Mike were arrested in Paris with the help of French police. They were immediately deported and sent back to the United States. I confronted them at the police station. Jessica maintained her defiant attitude, saying, "You're overreacting, Mom." Mike, on the other hand, looked exhausted and hung his head. During the preliminary hearing, Mike suddenly started talking. "Actually, I was being threatened by Jessica." As the courtroom fell silent, Mike tearfully confessed. He revealed that Jessica had psychologically dominated him and forced him to participate in Emily's abuse. When he tried to resist, she threatened to harm his family. I was a coward. I couldn't protect Emily. I'm truly sorry. Mike's confession brought a new development to the case. The prosecution indicted Jessica as the main culprit and Mike as an accomplice. The trial lasted for 3 months. I attended court every day and testified for Emily. Psychiatrists and child welfare experts also took the stand, emphasizing the severity of the abuse. On the final day, the verdict was delivered. Jessica was sentenced to 10 years in prison, while Mike received a 5-year suspended sentence. After the verdict, I approached Jessica. "Why? Why did you do this?" Jessica looked at me with cold eyes. "I didn't want to be like you. I couldn't be a perfect mother." Those words stabbed my heart. I never realized my upbringing had such an impact on Jessica. Following the trial results, I began the process of gaining custody of Emily. With the support of social workers, I was able to obtain custody relatively smoothly. The night Emily and I returned home together, I hugged her and said, "From now on, Grandma will protect you." Emily nodded slightly. It was the beginning of a new life. Emily's road to recovery was long and difficult. For the first few weeks, she was plagued by nightmares, often waking up crying in the middle of the night. Every night, I sat by her bedside, holding her hand and repeating, "It's okay, Grandma's here." With the advice of Dr. Brown, a child psychologist, we moved forward one step at a time. Emily received counseling twice a week. There, she gradually learned to express her feelings through drawing pictures and playing with clay. One day, my old friend Maria Rodriguez came to visit. Maria was also a lawyer and was raising her 10-year-old son Jason as a single mother. "Sarah, it must have been tough. Is there anything I can do to help?" Maria's kind offer brought tears to my eyes. "Thank you, Maria. Actually, would you mind being a companion for Emily?" From that day on, Maria and Jason began visiting us regularly. Jason was a bright and energetic boy who gradually drew the introverted Emily out into the world. One Saturday afternoon, Maria brought an old piano. "Emily, do you like music? I'm not using this anymore. Would you like to try playing it?" Emily shyly touched the keys. To our surprise, she naturally began to play a beautiful melody. "Emily, that's amazing!" I exclaimed in surprise. Emily smiled shyly. "I used to practice secretly on the piano at Mom's house." From that day on, Emily played the piano every day. Music became a great healing power for her emotional wounds. As time passed, Emily, Maria, Jason, and I became like one family. We went on picnics together on weekends and watched movies. Seeing Emily's smile increase, my heart was filled with joy. On the 1-year anniversary of Emily coming to live with me, we had a small celebration. As we gathered around the cake, Emily said in a small voice, "Grandma, Aunt Maria, Jason, everyone, thank you. I'm happy." Those words filled the room with a warm atmosphere. Although we weren't related by blood, we had truly become a family. I quietly vowed to protect this child and this new family, no matter what. 5 years have passed since Emily came to live with me. She's now 13 and has grown into a beautiful young lady. Her piano skills have improved remarkably, even winning local music competitions. One day, Emily came to me with a suggestion. "Grandma, I want to use music to help kids like me." Inspired by her words, we launched a music therapy program called Harmony Healing. It's a program where abused children can heal their hearts through music. Maria also offered her legal support. The program was surprisingly well received, with many children participating. Although young, Emily used her own experiences to connect with the children. Her kindness and strength moved me many times. One day, we had an unexpected visitor. It was Jessica, who had been released from prison. "Mom." "Emily." Jessica's voice was trembling. She had lost weight and had dark circles under her eyes. Emily and I were surprised, but we invited her into the house. Jessica began to speak through tears. "In prison, I thought about a lot of things. What I did to Emily, what you did for me, Mom, and the abuse I suffered myself." Jessica revealed that she, too, had been abused by her birth parents when she was young. That pain and anger had unknowingly been directed at Emily. But that's no excuse. What I did is unforgivable. Only, if you can forgive me, I'd like to slowly rebuild our relationship. Emily was silent for a long time, but eventually said in a small voice, "Mom, I've been thinking too. It's hard to forgive you, but maybe we can try, little by little." At those words, Jessica broke into loud sobs. I couldn't hold back my tears either. Over the next few months, Jessica earnestly worked on her rehabilitation program and received counseling. Rebuilding her relationship with Emily was extremely difficult, but music became the bridge between them. Jessica also started learning the piano, and sometimes they would play duets together. One night, as I listened to Emily's piano performance, I thought about what family really means. It's not just about blood ties. It's about understanding, forgiving, and supporting each other. That's what true family is. Our new family, including Maria and Jason, was healing each other's wounds and giving each other strength. As Emily's piano melody filled the room, I smiled quietly. This was the beginning of our new life. And it was the true form of a family created by the power of love.